So for the Odyssey, I have owned this car for the last 6 years. Went through 3 kids in it, just young toddlers, so they've all been in car seats and stuff. And I'm going to tell you why I like the Odyssey in particular versus the Sienna, and why I chose the Sienna over the Odyssey that we've had for the last 6 years. So for starters, we got this at 114,000 miles. It was family owned, and it's got 196,000 on it. On the vehicle, one of the major things that I do not like about the Odyssey and Honda compared to the Toyota is the maintenance. So with a Sienna, you have a timing chain. With the Odyssey, you have a timing belt. That needs to be replaced every 100 to 115,000 miles. So that was the big factor, because the dealership, they want $1,000 to replace the timing belt every time that it's needed. And I just don't want to do that every time. And plus, you could change it yourself if you're mechanically inclined. I've done a lot of maintenance on this myself, but working on vans suck. I'm telling you right now that the engine bay for vans is extremely difficult. When I had to replace just the alternator, the dealership had quoted it up as a 8-hour drive. Sorry, not 8-hour drive, but a 8-hour job. And so I did that myself. It took me about 5 hours to do with the help of a mechanic friend of mine. And let me just show you what the inside. If you're watching this video, you probably already know what you're getting yourself into. You may not even do your own maintenance, but this is the engine bay, and changing the time belt in here would be awful. But the alternator, you can't even see it. It's right there. That took forever to change. So another thing I don't like about the Odysseys is, in order for me to change to LED headlights like I did in this thing, the whole front bumper had to come off. The whole front bumper cover, that was about an hour job just to change the headlights in this thing. Now I was able to change low beam, but I could not change the high beam headlights. So another thing, maintenance wise, on the Odysseys versus the Sienna, this is a 2011, and I believe this is the first year or the second year that it came out with, but Hondas, Chevrolets, they all have it. The variable cylinder management, it's what they call it in the Honda. Chevrolet calls it something different. I think it's active fuel management. Anyways, it shuts down a cylinder. When it goes into eco mode, it's shutting down a cylinder, and then when it press the gas, it throttles back up. It goes back to the full 6-cylinder. Well, that will foul rings. It will foul your plugs, and that happened to us at 120,000 miles. So I ended up replacing all the coil packs, all the spark plugs, and I installed this thing right here. And you can see another video on this on my channel where I installed this. This is basically a kit that it tricks the PCM to say, hey, never shut off a cylinder. So highly recommend that for Hondas. Chevrolets, same thing. I think they make them easier now. You can plug it into your OBD2 port. The other ride quality thing about this is light years difference on the Sienna. Ride quality. The first time I drove the Sienna, I looked down, I was going 90 miles an hour, because it's super quiet in the cab, and it's so much smoother. This thing will shake and pop, and you just hear noises. Now, that might not be the same with every car. This car does need some new tires, so I've been driving it where it may need a little bit of an upgrade on tires. These are Hancooks, though. They were great at first, and it took away some of it, but I just think that after doing an alignment, doing these things, it ate through tires, only lasted 30,000 miles on tires. And I just think that the Sienna was better ride quality. Not too much any other maintenance things. You do have a tricky, I think it's P0420 codes, evap systems. I had to chase down some of those. Sometimes it's just a gas cap, other times it's things differently, but you do have that trouble with some Hondas on that. Yeah, so this is the base model. It's the EX. But it was good for our 3 kids, while it lasted. Here's what I like about the Odyssey. You are going to have, I guess it's personal preference to what vehicle you get first and what you know. But my wife hates the Sienna's interior. The Odyssey's interior is so much better. Now, as far as comfort, the seats are better than the Sienna. But as far as functionality, the Odyssey's way better. I can clean this van in like an hour, fully detail. Clean inside, everything. And it won't get stuck. Junk won't get stuck because there's no sliding seats like that's in the Sienna. And so you have those seat rails in the Sienna that I hate because they're so hard to clean. You can't take them out. I mean, the seats in the Odyssey slide back and forth. But we were able to take out seats. And I put a short up on my page of how it worked for us for 3 kids. We reorganized this so many times. It has so many different configurations that you can do with taking the seats out. And speaking of that, it's like the seats, you just fold them and you tilt them and they have a carry handle. You can take these seats out wherever you need to take them. And the Sienna seats are so bulky, they don't fold like that. And so you have to He-Man it out. And that can be difficult if your wife's driving this or whatever. So also the Odyssey has way more cup holders and way more storage compartments. Look, there's basically 3 on this thing because my wife would put her chapstick and stuff in here. And then we'd have other stuff in the bottom, you know, the coupons and everything else. But 3 compartments on this compared to just essentially 1 or 2 on the other one. Going into the driver's seat, the infotainment, I mean, of course, it's hard to compare because I do have the Sienna XLE in the other car, but the Odyssey is just the base package. So this is pretty basic stuff. I mean, one good thing about the Odyssey is the CDL button. You can rewrite, I don't know how much the storage is, but my wife had like 10 CDs on this thing. And you just put a CD in, it'll rewrite it into the system's software to where you can record CDs. Now, I know everybody probably uses Spotify now, and it does have, you know, auxiliary ports down there. Sorry, Sodar, let's see. But yeah, so it does have an auxiliary port you can plug in and get a Bluetooth one. You can see there's another big cup holder right there, storage. You also have like the cool box down here with storage. And then you have all this in here. This is significantly larger than the Siennas. I could not fit what my wife had in this box into the Siennas. Both of them have, you know, the Easy View C sunglass. That's pretty much up here up front. Going on to the back again, like I said, the seats in the Odyssey, it's just way better for moving them around, getting them organized. Going to the back, it's not really a difference in how the seats lay down. I think the Sienna is a little bit more flat, but the seats in the Odyssey are a little bit easier to throw forward. You can see they throw forward and stow, but back here, even the Sienna's middle seat stores right here, and we took that out, but I just like how more organized it is in the cubby system back here. If I could give it a rating, like comparing now that we've had both, the Odyssey is probably like an 8 or a 9 on just storage, probably a 7 on comfort. But then if you go to the ride quality and the maintenance aspect of an Odyssey, just because it's a Honda, it's still reliable. There's nothing wrong with the Honda. It's just you have that extra little bit. It's probably going to be a 7 or 8 on that. And so I chose it just because of the reliability. I tend to work on a lot more of my stuff, and I'm concerned when it comes to overall longevity of the maintenance and how much you're going to spend over the course of a vehicle. And the Odyssey, with me disabling the variable cylinder management, it gets about 20 miles per gallon. And so we'll compare the Sienna. All right, onto the Sienna. Like I said, from the Odyssey, I got this vehicle more for the maintenance aspect because you don't have the timing belt to change, and definitely can tell after driving it on a couple road trips and put about 2,000 miles on it that it is way smoother and quieter than the Odyssey is, and that's the reason why I like it better. Now, if you ask my wife, she would rather have the Odyssey just based on the interior alone. So if you remember, I gave scores on the Odyssey. I give a 10 to the reliability on the Sienna, and I will say that the interior of the Sienna is much more comfortable, but it has less compartments, like I was saying, in the Odyssey. And so I mentioned the infotainment. The infotainment is a lot better on the Sienna. This is a 2015 model XLE, so it does have the movie theater, which is cool that you can do split screen on there. You can also hook up an old PlayStation to it like I did, or Wii. We even have an HDMI port down here that we played Amazon Prime on a Prime stick, and we just use our hotspot from our phone. So push button start. I like all this. Now, 2015 and earlier models, I think it's 14, it may even be 13 that it was the last year, but there is wood grain right here, and it just kind of swoops over. I never really liked those. That's why I looked for a 15 and up. It was just the wood color didn't look great, and I don't know, it was a weird design. It just got a lot more updated with the 15s. And most common issues on the Siennas, so far, forums and stuff, 15 and 16 is the most reliable, they say, because of the 6-speed transmission, whereas the 8-speed transmission is in the newer 17s. And so I mentioned in the Odyssey how we can have like a lot more organization or setup as far as seats go. This is pretty much what you see is what you get. Now, we can still fit 8 because I do have the middle passenger seat. For the middle kids, I could put it in there quick. It stores in the back, although I have it in my garage right now. One other cool feature about Siennas versus the Odysseys is the back glass opens up, allows for a little bit of breathing, and then it has the rear screens in the back. Now, I know some of this is hard to compare because one's a 11 and one's a 15, but just if you're considering buying a used vehicle, I thought it'd be helpful to make this video. And if you want to know more, just ask some questions in the comments. I'll try to make a short about it or something like that. But also the Sienna, I was telling you from the Odyssey how the seats were. These seat rails get a ton of junk in them. Nobody really sells a good car mat either for it, so I bought these, and these are Lux car mats. They're expensive, more than WeatherTech is, but it's really the only thing that's specifically designed for the Sienna. And so I really like them. They're good, but you're not covering up the rails because the seats got to move freely. So the Odyssey wins in that category every time. Plus, it doesn't have that middle thing. So if you wanted to take the middle seat out of the Odyssey, you just take it out, and you don't have to step over that, which gets nasty. We've got not a lot of storage in here, like I said, in the Odyssey. Really, this is where my wife just had a lot of comparisons, and where she really liked the Odyssey more than Sienna. But just reliability wise, I'm the one that works on them and stuff like that, so I felt like the Sienna just wins on that. One other common issue on the Siennas is eventually your doors will fail. It's not if, it's when. And so far these are pretty good, but just make sure to clean your tracks really good down here. Make sure there's no debris down there. Maybe even put some white lithium grease down those tracks just to keep function properly. And then onto the back, this one does have the power lift gate, which my wife does like that. It's manual when you open it, but it's only powers down when you shut it. I've been cleaning this, but I'm gonna have to get some like fabric spray for this. This is when you put the seat down and you throw the fabric over, and I like that. But the Odyssey's a little bit more friendly on this because these seats are kind of hard. Not hard, but just they're heavier than the Odysseys when I'm comparing. Another thing I do like is that it comes with outlets, so that's cool. Yeah, any questions or comments, let me know. But like I said, I'd pick the Sienna over the Odyssey, but I just wish that the interior was more like the Odysseys.